As soon as the room was aired, the emperor, who got up immediately and wrapped himself in his dressing gown, received the correspondence from the hands of his private secretary. He sat down before the fire and opened the letters himself. Those which were of any interest were put aside to be taken up again at leisure. The others, of no importance, were scattered over the carpet, and he called that his answer. He then ran through the newspapers, those narrow and scanty journals, the columns of which he alone filled, and in which the smallest paragraph which he had not sanctioned caught his eye. He then asked the names of those persons who were waiting in the first salon, and mentioned those whom he wished to see. The master of the wardrobe, who, as part of his duty, was present at the toilette, and the Grand Marshal entered without waiting for orders, the architect Fontaine, and Barbier, the librarian, were often summoned. And on their proper days, Corvisart, the first physician, and Ivan, surgeon in ordinary. Of the medical staff, these were all who appeared, although since the rise of the empire it had been organized on a complete scale, and from year to year had been greatly extended. The physician in ordinary, Jean-Noël Allais, scarcely ever came again after the day when, at the toilette, the emperor took it into his head to pull his ears. "Sire, you hurt me," said Allais with temper, leaving the room quickly. A member of the Institute and professor at the Collège de France, he nevertheless continued to appear in the lists for an annual sum of 15,000 francs. The doctors on quarterly service, two at first, afterwards for all its salaries of 8,000 francs, followed the emperor on campaign. They went by his orders to give their attention to those of the sick in whom he was interested. But at Paris, they took their orders from the first physician. As to the 4 consulting physicians, at 3,000 francs, and the oculists, they were simply honorary. Of the surgeons, who were more numerous, Ivan only appeared so that neither Boyer, first surgeon with a stipend of 15,000 francs, who was created baron in 1810 with an allowance of 4,000 francs, nor the 5 surgeons on quarterly service at a stipend of 6,000 francs, nor the 4 consulting surgeons at 3,000 francs appeared at the palace. The surgeons on quarterly service followed on campaign, and several of them had by their devotion deservedly received the Legion of Honor. But on the contrary, the doctors who, in the absence of Corvisart, gave their attention to the emperor, approached him only exceptionally, Ivan accompanying him everywhere. This Ivan Alexandre Urbain had been attached to General Bonaparte since the campaign of Italy, as early as at Milan. His wife appeared at the Ciboloni Palace at the salon of Madame Bonaparte while he was prancing in the staff of the general. From the year 8 he was so far looked on as a friend as to be almost alone admitted to sign the marriage contract of Caroline. He had, besides a yearly stipend of 12,000 francs, the post of surgeon-in-chief to the invalid, and the gold cross of an officer of the Legion of Honor, the title of baron, with an allowance of 9,000 francs, without taking into account fees, which yearly varied from 25 to 30,000 francs at Fontainebleau. On the evening of March 14, 1814, after having put him down for 40,000 francs on the list of 2 millions, the emperor gave him 200,000 francs and the cross of commandant of the Legion. Some hours afterwards, Ivan, in a state of madness, went down to the stables, took a horse, and made the best of his way to Paris. Napoleon did not forgive him. Of all the doctors, the only one in whom Napoleon had confidence was Corvisart. "I have confidence in the medical skill of my first physician, Corvisart," wrote he to Madame Montesquieu in 1812. He had felt it ever since the consulate when, on the recommendation of Madame Lannes, Josephine induced Napoleon, whose health had been for a long time out of order, to see him in consultation. Corvisart, at that time 47 years of age, was in full possession of the reputation which he had acquired at the clinical school of La Charité. By his new methods of investigation, he applied them conscientiously to the examination of the condition of the council, examined with the minutest care all the organs one after the other, and discovered that Napoleon was suffering from an eruption driven in, which, badly treated, had brought on a considerable falling away and disorder in the lungs. It is nothing," said he. "It is a humor driven in which must be brought out." He applied 2 blisters on the chest, which became less oppressed. The cough disappeared little by little, and struck by the simplicity of the means employed, as well as by the accuracy of the diagnosis, Napoleon attached Corvisart to him as his only doctor. Barthez had the title, but he lived in Montpellier, and Napoleon assigned him a stipend. It was in recollection of his father, Charles Bonaparte, whom Barthez had taken charge of in his last illness. From the early days of the consulate down to 1814, Corvisart was therefore first physician with a stipend which amounted to 30,000 francs a year, without speaking of an allowance of 30,000 francs attached to his title of baron. He was nonetheless constantly in want of money, however extensive his practice was in Paris. Married during the Revolution to a girl of noble family by whom he had a son whom he wished to legitimize, he lost the child, and as soon as possible obtained a divorce too. Resumed bachelor life. Court life did not please him, and the official world had no attraction for him. He passed his leisure time at the house of his old friend, Guhenuk, who, as well as he, loved rough pleasantries, or in a society still more gay, in which he met vaudevillists such as Barret and Desfontaines, the ballet master Dupro, the husband of Madame Guimard, and a number of beaux vivants, pretty women. Ravriot, the dealer in bronzes, who composed songs in his leisure, sang the virtues of the doctor, quelquefois gai, toujours paillard, and celebrated the recollections of little fetes in which Corvisart took part. They were of a somewhat rough kind. Corvisart then scarcely ever appeared at the toilet except on his days of duty, Wednesday and Saturday. Napoleon received him with jokes. "You there, great quack, have you killed many people today?" And Corvisart replied in the same cue, allowed his ears to be pulled and rubbed, knew how to profit by an opportune moment to make a request, and was one of those through whom a number of alms passed. Nor did he disdain any more for himself the gains which he drew from his office, for he had a passion for curiosities and rarities, for pictures and objects of art. His patients of both sexes did not allow him to be in want of them. Witness that marvelous snuff box with an ancient cameo present from Josephine, which bequeathed by Corvisart to Madame la Comtesse de Soulaise, and by her to Professor Jules Cloquet, appears as number 5293 in the collections of the Cluny Museum. Above all, witness the numberless presents made to him by Marie Louise, but like all true amateurs, he much preferred buying to receiving.